Over the past year, I've had to do a lot of waiting, which is something I'm not very good at. I think a lot of people struggle with patience a little bit. I know it's something I've always struggled with a lot. Maybe it's my ADHD, maybe it's just more common than I think. My mom always jokes that when I want something, I'm gonna get it instantly, or if I say I'm gonna do something, it'll be done by the end of the day. And I think there's some truth to that, because I've just always been a very impatient person. This last month or so of my life has been extremely slow moving, and I knew it would be. So I made an effort to try and be a little bit more patient. For some context, I lived in Singapore for the last 2 years, from 2019 until just earlier this month. Earlier this year, I decided to move to Paris and to come back to my home country. So in the past 5 weeks, I've had to, pack up my stuff, pack up my apartment, say goodbye to my friends, all that stuff. But with the world how it is now, it also means I was limiting my social interactions a lot, which means I had about 3 weeks before leaving Singapore where I basically hardly saw anyone or did anything, and I just had to wait to leave. And now, upon arriving to Paris, I have to wait some more because I have to wait to readjust to living in this country. I have to wait for my apartment, which won't be ready until October. So it's just a whole lot of things to wait for. In the past, this would have driven me insane, but at the start of this period of my life, I decided that I wanted to try and be a little bit more patient, learn how to curb my impatience, and sort of figure all of that out. I'm still not entirely sure if any of this testimony or whatever is going to be useful to anyone, but I just felt like documenting it. So here we go. It starts with this video. When I knew I was going to have to spend a lot of time on my own and I wasn't going to be able to make proper plans for social gatherings or sessions with musicians or anything, I thought, all right, well, at least let's make something of this. Hence the existence of this video. At the beginning, I didn't really know what I was doing. This type of video is very new to me, and I'm very new to the whole process, and I was just kind of stumbling through it. Truth be told, I have no idea what this video is going to be about. I'm just kind of hoping that I figure it out along the way. I also really wasn't patient with it at all, but I knew that, and I didn't care. Right now, I'm not doing such a good job at exercising said patience, considering the fact that I started the video yesterday and I'm already making a second clip today. I wasn't taking it all too seriously, and I'm still not. I mean, this is supposed to be fun. So I was essentially just taking, some update clips throughout the weeks and just sort of explaining how I was feeling and how things were evolving and how everything was changing. I've been thinking a little bit about what this whole video is going to be about. I think it has a lot to do with patience, the sort of weird paradox between wanting to do things and knowing that I need to take my time and be patient with the things that I want to do. In a similar way, I'm like, well, I have 3 more weeks here and that feels like it's going to be an eternity because I'd like to just go home and get started with all of my projects when I go home, but I have to wait. And that's something that I really struggle with. Speaking of outlet, I was watching a Nathaniel Drew video last night about having a mission, an outlet, and an energy, and that each person has those things. And it got me thinking about what those things are for me. The outlet wasn't particularly difficult for me to figure out. It's creating things. So I was trying to think about what my mission is. I'm not really on a mission to make some kind of great impact on the world or be remembered for generations. No, I just want to be happy, and I want those around me and the people that I love to be happy as well. And I think that's a pretty normal thing to want. It's really starting to move now. Soon my apartment will be a shell of its former self. It's pretty crazy. It's really weird to me that this video was started 3 weeks ago already, because it feels like it's been a lot shorter, which is very contradictory to what I've said at the beginning, where I was like, I thought it would feel like it lasted an eternity. I'm sad to leave, but very excited to come home. And I'm very excited to get started with everything when I get home. I think it's going to be really good and just an interesting new chapter of my life. Lots of changes happening, but all for the better, I think. At first, I thought this video was going to be just kind of a vlog type thing where I just put the clips one after the other and edit them together a little bit. But I realized that's not what I wanted, so I started changing things around, writing this script, and sort of making it a more overarching view in retrospect. This was a challenge, and is a challenge, because I've never done anything like this before, but that's what makes it fun, and also what helps curb my impatience more. The other thing I started doing more is making music, obviously. For about 3 weeks before the start of the video and still going into the first week, I was super uninspired and I was barely making any music. But about halfway through the first week, it started coming back and I started to make more music. And it's been on a slow rise ever since. Obviously, picking up my main creative outlet again was amazing. And I encourage anyone watching this to really spend the time and try and find what your true passion is. And it might take years to figure out what that is, but once you do find it, it's like magic. Honestly, making music is unlike anything else for me. The wonders it does for my mental state and my mental clarity are unlike anything else I've ever experienced. And I hope everybody gets to feel like that at some point in their lives. So not only did music help me curb my impatience, but obviously it also helped me get through the sort of mental challenge that is a move across several continents. Finally, while I couldn't see many people during those few weeks, I still made an effort to spend some quality time with, my closest friends and the people that I love. This goes without saying, but spending time surrounded by people that you love and who support you is just a huge mental health boost. And so I made the effort to spend, a couple nights and a couple days with some of my friends coming over to my house and just hanging out and spending some quality time while remaining safe and safely distanced and all of that. So it sounds like I did a lot, right? Cool, done, now I'm here. Not exactly. While I did spend a lot of time making music and working on the video and seeing some friends, there was also a lot of downtime. And that's when things were the hardest, when I was bored and I didn't feel like making music or working on the video or talking to anyone. Because of course, when you've spent 2 years in a place forming strong emotional connections to the places and people around you, a move like that has really negative effects on your mental health. Whether or not I realized it, I was in a bit of a depression, and this led to days where my mood and energy were too low for me to even consider doing any of the things I mentioned above. And so I would just spend my whole day, in my bed or at my desk watching TV shows or YouTube videos. Those were the days where I really felt my impatience creep up, and I was getting super frustrated because I felt like I really couldn't do anything about it except wait. Eventually, I got tired of being so down and tired and bored all the time, and so I did a little bit of thinking, and I decided to just not be those things. A simplified version of Stoicism's view on control, if you will. Stoicism says we can only control two things: our voluntary actions and judgments. In other words, we can only control what we do and the way that we choose to react to certain situations. There's a famous quote from a Greek philosopher, Epictetus: "The more we value things outside of our control, the less control we have." I was so envious of my future self, who was going to be in this new place, meeting these new people, doing all this stuff and roaming around, while I was stuck in my apartment and I couldn't do anything. So a slow and ongoing process started in my mind where I would catch myself in these negative sort of spirals and just refocus and think about what I could control, which was what I do and how I react to my current situation. Really, there wasn't much for me to do, and when I didn't feel like doing any of those things, I didn't. But that was a conscious choice for me to do nothing. And instead of resenting myself for not doing more, I would just appreciate the moment and make a conscious effort to not beat myself up over doing nothing. This loosely ties in with a realization I had earlier this year about my relationship with productivity, in that I always felt like I wasn't doing enough because all these people around me were always so busy and they had no time to do anything, and I had all this free time. So surely I should be doing more, right? The difference is that I work really fast, whether it be music or video or visuals or anything that I'm passionate about. I hyperfocus and I work super fast. That's a side effect of ADHD is hyperfixations, and one of my main ones is making things on the computer. So in reality, my output is the same as, if not sometimes more than, most people's, except I can be done with all of my work by 2 p.m. and have the rest of the day to lounge around and do nothing. I used to feel guilty about that until I realized that quantifying productivity based on the amount of time that you put in versus the actual output makes no sense. And once I internalized that, I reveled in the fact that I had the luxury of spending 5 hours watching Netflix one day and still have all my work done. I had to change my camera battery. In essence, through this process, I'm learning to be kinder to myself and to, appreciate the way that my brain works a little bit more and be less hard on myself. So here I am now. It's the end of July as of me recording this. I'm in my parents' attic. I've set myself up a little studio, and I'm gonna be here for another 2, maybe 3 months until my apartment's ready. In the meantime, I'll be here readjusting to life in this country again, reconnecting with old friends, maybe traveling around Europe a little bit once I'm fully vaccinating, and waiting. My journey with controlling my impatience has only just begun, but after only a month and a half of mindfully going through this process, I already feel a lot more confident in my ability to get through this and, come out a better person. I'm extremely excited for my future ahead, but I'm also very happy to be here now where I am.